Hello everyone and welcome back to Satisfactory. Today, it's time to upgrade some drones. Welcome back. Last time we put together this thing. This is the radio control unit and a crystal oscillator factories, both producing, I think it was 45 radio control units, and I think it was 50 crystal oscillators, but we're using some, so I think we're getting like 30. I don't really remember, but it's probably, hopefully, maybe going to be enough for the rest of the game. I guess we'll have to find out about that one. Anyways, so what are we doing today? Well, the drones right now are currently running off of normal fuel. That's not very efficient, and making the canisters to, contain the fuel is also kind of annoying. So I think we are going to go and fix that problem. So the way we're going to fix that is by doing the thing that I've been saying that I've wanted to do for, like, I don't know, 4 or so episodes, which is basically convert all of the fuel we're getting into rocket fuel and use that instead. Which is also going to be great because then I can just shove excess off into a dimensional depot and use rocket fuel for my jetpack, which is going to be really nice. Now, as you can see, fuel is not being consumed very fast, and the generators over there are actually turned off. That is because the only drone that's actually active right now is the one that's bringing computers over to the radio control unit factory that we set up last time. So I think it's about time we just tore this whole thing apart and redid all of it, because most of the drones are actually just bringing materials back and forth to make the adaptive control units, which we no longer need as far as I'm aware. Now, I don't know what those AI servers take, and I don't think we can actually make them yet, but I'm pretty sure everything in research we can do, we just have to do it. Okay, that was the stupidest statement ever, but essentially I think the only things left in research are turbo motors, radio control units, and I think there's one advanced material in there. But that's like towards the end, and that's, I think, to get the ballistic warp drives. Why don't we just go over there and look so I, stop yapping about it? I don't know what we need, so let's go find out. Alright, yeah, let's see here. Supercomputers, trigons, time crystals, and turbo motors. Yep, that's not too bad. This is going to be a potential issue, but actually I don't think it will be. Since we have drones now, we can probably just do this, right? We're going to have to figure out which recipe we want to make, and the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm leaning towards the top one. We're just going to have to make a bunch of motors, and then we just ship in all the other resources, which might be really nice because then we can use the drones, because we're going to have to move in at least the radio control units. If we do use the top recipe, which I'm thinking 12 per minute on turbo motors, just so we can have some, we already most likely have the cooling systems, we already have the rubber, we can ship in the radio control units, and we'll just have to make more motors, which I'm getting really sick of making motors, but by this point I should be really good at it because I've had to do it like 8 times, but we're going to have to do motors either way, so maybe we'll just do that. That will unlock the AI expansion server, the oscillator, and the neural quantum processor, which I think we actually need for this. We need those neural quantum processors for the Mark III blueprint, and we're going to need the superposition oscillators to get these last things. So yeah, not too far away from basically completing this, actually. Now that I think about it, we're kind of close to beating the game, aren't we? Well, Well, we'll have to figure out where that goes. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead and head back over to Fuel Land. Actually, no, let's not head to Fuel Land. We're going to have to take a pit stop first. But if you take a look over here, you can see a bunch of aluminum ingots just getting sunk right now. That's not super great. We could do something better with these, and that something better is going to be move them all over to the production of fuel canisters, because we're going to need aluminum for that anyways. Now, this is not the only place that's making extra aluminum ingots. The factory over here, I believe, is also doing so. So we could run another conveyor over from there, but this thing hasn't been on in a while. We are making 100 heat sinks. Yes, I remember that. 100 heat sinks to 50 cooling systems. Now, let's just assume we're making turbo motors in this top recipe. We want 12 a minute, or some form of near 12. Maybe we don't have to do an exact amount. Okay, maybe we can do the exact amount, but for 12 turbo motors a minute, we are going to need 48 cooling systems, 24 radio control units, 48 motors. Oh, I'm gonna have to make 50 motors a minute again. And 96 times 3, which, whatever that is, we definitely have ample rubber to go around. But that will make us our 12 turbo motors a minute, which maybe we end up doing this recipe, or maybe we don't, because that is kind of all of the cooling systems. I don't think we're using them for anything, but I don't know. This costs less motors, but also takes rotors, electromagnetic control rods, which I don't really want to deal with, and the radio control units. No. What about this one? So this will make 8 turbo motors a minute. So what if we set this to 6? So let me just double everything. 24 motors, 6 pressure conversion cubes, which is 12 radio control units, a whole bunch of packaged nitrogen, which does mean we will need to go deal with aluminum again, and 48 stators. I don't know. Anyway, okay, the whole reason I'm trying to say this is I think we're making extra aluminum ingots over here, so we're just going to have to route them over there. That, or I just suck it up and make another aluminum setup with the aluminum that's literally sitting right here. We don't even have to make it efficient. It just has to be enough to supply a bunch of containers. Why am I even talking about this? Let's just go do that. Good grief, man. You know, I'm trying to be efficient, but like at the same time, whatever. Let's just go make a new aluminum setup. Let's just get a whole bunch of the containers, and then we'll just call it a day. You know, there's no need to make this harder than it needs to be. Ah, yes, I remember this box site. That's where that weird jetpack hog thing was attacking me. There's no way this is considered swamp, right? The lighting's got to be messed up. The last time I was here, it was completely calm. Yeah, no, I think the swamp is legitimately just spreading. Okay, anyways, we've got a normal and an impure. Now, the real question is, how lazy do I want to be? And the answer is very. Is there sulfur nearby? No, but there is SAM. Hang on, can't you convert that? SAM and coal, or SAM and iron will turn into sulfur. Do we have either of those nearby? We do. Huh. Well, let's do the coal recipe because we have some. I think that'll be enough. So it takes 200 a minute in a converter. I don't know how much power that takes, but I don't think it's going to be that much. So if we had 300 a minute, I'm pretty sure that coal vein is impure, so we'll have 300 a minute, so we'll have 180 sulfur per minute, and it'll take a little bit of SAM. I think we can do that, right? That's going to be enough. We just need to process 900 of this, and I'm going to do the sulfuric acid recipe if you haven't figured that out by now. Mostly because it's the easiest way to be extremely lazy about it. Oh, but that also needs coal. Oh. Okay, we might have to do some math here. All right, well, the coal is not enough, and that is unfortunate. So to get through all 300 of this, you're going to need 100 sulfuric acid per minute, which means 100 sulfur per minute. Now, coal is converted at 20 to 12, which is a 5 to 3 ratio, so we're actually going to end up needing around 366 coal per minute instead of just 300. Now, that's not going to be that much of a problem because there's a whole bunch of coal veins around here. They're all impure, but who cares? Let's just go mine some coal, we'll make the sulfur, we'll just set up this stupid aluminum factory so we can get the drones going. All of this could have been avoided if I just did it the other way, you know? Now on the SAM front, we don't actually need that much. I think it's like 40-ish. So I'll probably just plug this in and just call it a day. Now, where are the coal veins? And this one does need to be overclocked. And I did just have an absolutely horrible idea. Let me check to make sure I can do this before I even say it. Limestone to coal. We might not even need to go mine another vein. We may just need to mine some limestone. Yep. You can do it. Oh, no. Okay, so here's the idea. 200 limestone per minute will get converted into that extra coal that we need, which just takes a little bit more SAM. I think the cost of SAM is now up to 56 per minute, which is not so bad. So let's just grab this limestone. We'll pipe it all over here. We'll just do the entire factory over here, make sulfur, and send it over. I'm also not going to sacrifice the entire pure node for 200, so we're going to use this impure one over here. All right, well, there's our limestone, there's our coal. Let's go grab our SAM, and actually I'm going to rotate this the other direction, and let's get some weird converter recipes going. Also, now that we actually... Okay, bro, why are there so many of them down here? What is this? Nah, hold on, I have an idea. I mean, that almost killed me, but I think I got, like, most of them. Yeah, 4 of them. Yeah, get wrecked, bro. As I was saying, now that we actually have radio control units, I can build converters without having to worry about breaking the bank. Okay, that's enough reanimated SAM for this. This is going to be making coal from limestone. All right, limestone goes in, reanimated SAM goes in. This thing needs to be plugged in to the power, and that takes 100 to 400. Merge in the coal. Also, we need to drop this thing down. This needs to run at 55.5556. In goes all the coal. We just need some additional reanimated SAM, which unfortunately I've used a curvy belt, which is a bad idea. Now this should be getting us our nice amount of 100 sulfur per minute. Yeah, there you go. All right, sweet. That is everything that we need for the sulfuric acid. Let's go ahead and run that over to the bauxite setup. You know, I haven't checked if this lake is a real lake. The answer's no. Okay, well, that's unfortunate. We're gonna have to pump some from the swamp down there. You know, this is gonna be the most janky factory I think I've ever built. And also, why am I building it like this? Oh. Yes, I am overclocking these because I'm lazy. And that looks super deep, so if I can't place a pump in here, I'm gonna... Oof. Good. Okay. Now we need to go mine our bauxite and bring over the extra coal that I forgot to do. Alright, assuming that water has successfully percolated into the system, we should be making our instant scrap now. Sulfuric acid is not being produced, and that is because I have no idea. Oh, wait, no, I just messed it up. Okay, there we go, yep, okay. So instead of splitting over there, it splits here, and then the rest of the water goes that way, and then the 20 per minute goes into here. We should have plenty of water now. This thing should be kicking on, and we should have some instant scrap. Very good. Okay, so before this has any problems, let's go ahead and get this out of here and send it into a bunch of smelters. There we go. That should be our 300 aluminum ingots per minute. All right, there we go. So we got 3 of these guys, and actually I think we can just double 2 of them, and that will be 120, 240, and 300, and that will make 300 food tanks per minute, which that's probably more than enough, actually. I think this is a little overkill. I'm okay with that. Now, just to make sure that no issues happen, I am going to add a smart splitter right here. If we ever fill up on aluminum, that will go into an overflow over to here, and it will get sunk, because I do not want this thing backing up on water, because I will have to come over here and manually intervene if that is the case. So, if it gets filled up, it's getting sunk. Yeah, and it looks like these are pretty much full on tanks already, so it looks like we're kind of doing that already. Let's run a conveyor. All right, there we finally go. 300 pressurized casings per minute over here in the fuel end. Okay, so now we're going to have to do the very, very fun task of figuring out what I was doing. 333.3333 fuel. Okay, you know what? I think I remember. The reason I did that is because we are going to use the compacted coal turbo fuel recipe. 333, 222. I think that was the perfect ratio. So we're going to send 222 compacted coal, which, by the way, I didn't do the math right, because guess what also makes compacted coal? Rocket fuel. So we're going to have extras, which I'm just going to merge back onto the line and then sink any overflows. That's just going to be easier anyways. And also, we're going to have to sink this thing too. Okay, so now let's do the not so fun part of tearing everything apart and getting rid of all the extra garbage in there. This is going to be fun. My inventory is also full of garbage, if you haven't noticed. So yeah, this will be interesting. I'm also going to cut off this because this is no longer needed. I am not going to go and deconstruct the factory because I'm lazy. And another thing that we can deconstruct is the drone ports. We don't need any of the drone ports that are currently here. So, you know what? Honestly, it's time for a clean slate anyway. Let's rip this whole thing open. All right, now, unfortunate consequence of this is that I did just disconnect the computers, which we did need to run the radio control units, but that's fine. We're going to have to redo this whole thing anyway, so I think we're going to be all right. All right, let's make a fuel refinery, shall we? Now, next up is going to be converting the fuel into turbo fuel. Now, how many refineries are we going to need for this? That is the question. Let's find out. 14.8 or 15 of these. All right, in comes the compact coal. I just added a little splitter. Apparently, I already had a sink, so I guess we'll just use that one, but I don't know. We'll see. Okay, but in goes the compact coal. Fuel's already plugged in. We should be getting some more turbo fuel now. Very nice. Let's go ahead and paint this the correct color. And now we need to convert that into rocket fuel, which takes 60 per minute in a blender. We're going to need 5 blenders. That's actually not so bad, and I think we can just run it along this, and then we will pipe it around and off into the drones. All right, blenders are in. Rocket fuel, nope, turbo fuel is going into here, and we just need to get some nitric acid, which, according to calculations, we need around 186, which is hopefully just a single little deposit over here. I think we've got one left over. We're just going to have to run it over. Or I go make it nearby. Actually, that's probably a better idea anyways, because I know this iron plate factory here. I think this is overkill, maybe. You know, I don't know if it's overkill or not, so let's just... Yeah, now it is. Okay, we'll just leach some plates over here. We can grab another pump of water, and we'll just pump some nitrogen over here and make enough nitric acid to supply this. Alright, here we have our totally not janky nitric acid setup, which is totally not clipping into the ground in the middle of nowhere and just using a bunch of extra iron plates that I haven't even properly calculated. That's not what's happening. But now we have to run it all the way over to there. Okay, well, in theory, nitric acid should be coming over here. I don't know if we have enough head lift. Although there to here, I that shouldn't be too bad, right? Now, unfortunately, it's going to be rather slow because we're not producing a whole lot, but that does give me enough time to run over here and paint all the pipes, I guess. All right, and there we have it, folks. Rocket fuel is being produced. Very, very nice. Now, I probably, if I was smart about this, would redirect all these belts, which I am actually going to do, and send them the other direction, so I can just send them into that same sink we already have over there, and then I can basically just have more than one sink and waste a bunch of power instead of sending it to the exact same one for everything. So, you know, the reasonable solution. Alright, actually, how much of this are we making? So we're making 462 rocket fuel per minute, and we have 300 canisters per minute. So we need to figure out how many packagers we need, and which part is actually the bottleneck. I think it might be the rocket fuel, if I had to guess, because I'm fairly certain, yeah, you need 2 rocket fuel per thing, so we would need 600 rocket fuel if we wanted to use all 300 empty fluid tanks, which is fine. That is also why I added that overflow system to the aluminum side, because I knew this was going to be an issue. Whoa, okay, that packager is in fact packaging. We have all 4 of them running at the same time. We are getting packaged rocket fuel right here. Okay, first things first, I'm going to add a dimensional depot down, which is why I have this storage box. And now we have rocket fuel as one of our fuel types, which is going to be super great. I'm going to unpin this and actually use rocket fuel instead. Now, how fast... Actually, we should do a comparison. Hold on. I'm just going to hold down the button, and we'll see how high up we go. So to about there, okay. I'm going to end up dying if I do this, but it's worth it for science. Okay, now, how about rocket fuel? That is not... What? How? There you go. Wow! Okay, yeah, that's a lot better. That goes a lot higher. Jeez. Oh, and you don't die of fall damage, huh? Alright, well, yeah, that's definitely better, and we're going to be using that. Okay, so... Now, a little bit of this is going to be, of course, going into my dimensional depot, but the majority of it is going to wrap around here and go into the drone ports, which now it's time to set up. Or actually more like tear down, because we don't need any of these. And yes, syncing all those supercomputers does hurt just a little bit, but we're going to get so many sync points out of it, I think it's going to be worth it. Alright, there we go. Nice and clean area to add some drones. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to reconfigure the drone to move computers. So we're going to need a set of them. We're obviously going to need this one, and we're going to need another one right next to it, because one will come from here, grab computers, and bring them back, and this one will grab computers, go over there, and come back. We need both of those because the fuel is located, of course, only over here. Okay, let me get that set up. Alright, drones have been set up. This one is about to, I think, deliver some computers, so I guess we can watch to make sure that everything is, in fact, working correctly. There you go. Computers are getting deposited and going into the outgoing one on this one, which means radio control units are back up and running. Okay, so now that we have the drones done, we can, of course, use them, which is great, because why don't we do something that I kind of hinted at in the beginning of the episode, and make turbo motors? We're going to have to figure out which recipe to do, and the more that I'm thinking about it, the more I'm leaning towards this one, because we already basically have everything. We just need to make more motors, which, making motors is starting to drive me crazy, because I've had to do it like 4 times, and I'm going to have to do it a 5th time, but, you know, that's fine. So, if we want to do this recipe, I'm thinking 12 per minute, and we did the math. I think we needed 48 motors, and I need to go over to the cooling systems area to make sure that we are not using any. So we're currently making 50 a minute of cooling systems, and if they're being used for anything else, that means we can't use them for the turbo motors, and we're going to have to use something else. I'm fairly certain these aren't used at all, but I am going to have to go check. Yep, that's correct. They are literally going nowhere. This thing is entirely full, and... there you go. Okay, so you know what? I think that's what we're going to do. Turbo motors at 12 per minute using the default recipe of cooling systems, rubber, motors, and radio control units. Now, the real question is, where are we going to put this? Because we are going to need to make 48 more motors. Great. Now, I do know we've got a bunch of iron over here. I think these are normal and maybe impure, or is it normal? Okay, so it's normal. So we can get 1,200 iron out of that. We have a lake right here. I'm betting we could probably make all 48 motors out of these 2 iron veins, and if not, we may have to import some various other things from nearby. Unfortunately, there isn't anything else nearby. I think we're kind of using all of it. Although, I do know this Caterium vein, we're not using all of it, because I think it's a Mark II miner. So if we need some kind of cabling or something, we might be able to get it out of there. We also have a little bit more copper if we want to do the same thing. But let's see if we can make these entirely out of iron. So, 48 motors. Can we do that with 1200 iron? All right, well, good news and bad news. Good news, we can do it. Bad news, it is 1435 iron ore into 40 refineries, 60 constructors, and about 40 assemblers. But we could do it with just these 2 iron veins plus a little bit of this one. This one is currently a Mark II miner producing 147.87 per minute. That sounds stupid. If we upgrade that to a Mark III, we can extract extras out of this, and then we won't have to worry about it. The copper really isn't going to be that useful. We're going to have to build more refineries if we end up using copper, because the only thing it really would be useful for is the wiring, and I don't really want to deal with that. So I think we're just going to use these 2 veins plus this guy right here to get an additional amount. We'll make all of our motors, we'll ship in the rubber, we'll ship in the cooling systems, and we'll ship in the radio control units to make 12 turbo motors per minute. Good grief. Now, another thing that I could do is I could just use some Somers loops and then not have to deal with this. We could make maybe like 10 or so and then just double the outputs of one of them, which would then produce more, of course. But the issue with that is I'm trying to save all of my Somers loops for the end of the game. I can remember which button is my inventory. Jesus. We have 15 right now. I know there's plenty more around the map, but I'm trying to save them up because I know we're going to need a lot of them. Specifically for making ballistic warp drives, because, again, I have a feeling they are the most sync points, so I want to try to make a very, very large factory for those, and I'm going to need a lot of sloops for that, unless I want to overclock everything, and then that's going to consume way more power than I have. Okay, you know what? Enough yapping. Let's just build the motor factory, and since I've done this, I don't know, maybe 4 times already, let's just do this. Have you ever seen an entire factory just kind of appear? You have now. Well, hopefully I got my focal point correct. Anyways, yeah, this is a 48 motors per minute factory for the 3rd time, maybe even the 4th time. I'm not really sure how many motor factories I've built, but the number is greater than 3. This one's a little different, and mostly because it uses only iron. There is 41.02 refineries running, making the iron ore into iron ingots. That all goes over here into a couple of mergers. There is 18.2, maybe it's 19, I'm not sure. There is enough steel pipes to do this entire thing. I think it's like 300-ish steel pipes, and the rest goes into iron wire. Yes, this entire thing is iron wire. That's a lot of iron wire. Anyways, they all get merged together. The iron wire gets merged into a box right here and split out into the stators and rotors, both of which take iron pipes and wire, which is interesting, and then that gets merged together to make 48 motors per minute. Hopefully this is the last time I have to make motors, but truth be told, I doubt it. Okay, anyways, so now that this is done, and since we already have kind of gone up a whole bunch, why don't we just platform the rest of this out, put in all the drone ports we need, or maybe just run a conveyor for the cooling systems and also the rubber, because we are kind of nearby, but we will make a drone port for the radio control units, and then make turbo motors on site right here. I think that makes some sense, right? So let's do that. Now, I guess the real question is going to be, how many manufacturers am I going to need for this? 6.4, or maybe we just do 6, because I think we can probably fit that in, or maybe we just overclock them a bunch so we can get some nice, like, I don't know, footprint for it. I think that makes sense. Anyways, they probably want to go to the right. I don't know, man. Okay, whatever. Let's just do right. We'll put them over on this side, and we'll call it from there. All right, well, I could fit 5 in cleanly, so I think we'll just overclock one of them, or maybe 2 of them. I don't know. But let's go ahead and hit turbo motor, copy settings to all of these guys. We'll set that one at 200%, and we will set this at 140, I believe. And that will give us 12 turbo motors per minute. All right, sweet. Now, also, I had to run the motors kind of up top here, so I think we should just plug that one into the top, and then we have the other resources come in from the sides over there. Now let's go ahead and get all the other things over here and plug them in, of course. Cooling systems, I think we'll just run a conveyor belt over here. I don't think it's going to be that far away anyways, and this is actually lower than that, so yeah, let's just run a line of foundations over here and go grab some cooling systems. And I think cooling systems would be a perfect candidate to go on the bottom floor. There we go. And no, I'm not buying a Fix-It protein bar. Stop asking. Next up is going to be rubber, and I don't actually know how much we're going to need, so let's see, 288 total rubber, which I think we can just go grab another one of the rubber lines over here. We might actually be able to just leech off a separate line, maybe? 450 rubber is going into the computers, and I don't think it's going anywhere else, so we should be able to add the, what was it, 200 and something? 235? We should be able to just add that to the line and then just take it off of there. So let's go do that. That's going to be significantly easier. Alright, there we go. Rubber is coming in, and last but not least is going to be the drone port. So why don't we go ahead and just kind of do something like this. Now this will be the fun part to get set up, because we do need to go all the way over to radio control unit land, put down another drone port, and get 2 of the fuel guys loaded up over there. So let's go do that. Obviously, first things first, let's place the port over here. Next up, place the 2 ports over here, one of which will go and get to the radio control units, and one of which will ship them off to the other place. Next up, we place the drone port over here in radio control unit land. Speaking of which, it appears to be on and working very, very well. We have 2, 3, 4.5 boxes, and the crystal oscillators I saw on the way here are also completely full, so I guess let's go check how many of those we have. Full box, and we're starting on the second. Yeah, we're doing great. All right. Of course, do not forget to plug in the drone port and name it what it's supposed to be. This will link to the radio control unit input, since this is the fuel input, and this will link to the radio control unit destination, since it is the fuel destination. And last but not least, drone, and that should be good to go. Now we wait a good like 4 or 5 minutes to get the radio control units in, and then we should have our turbo motors done. Whoa! Watch where you're going, bruh. What the? This little guy's got maneuvers, man. Now the real question is, do you actually have the radio control units, or did you leave before the other one got there? Looks like it missed. Alright, well, let's see if I can ride this one. Where are you going? Last time I did this, it killed me, so I feel like this is a bad idea. Oh. Oh, okay. Well, okay, well, I can see the control units inside the outgoing chest, so it should pick them up this time. What the? What? How did you even do that? This thing doesn't know how to fly in a straight line. You know what? Also, another thing to mention, I did see that a new update was kind of released in early access, and apparently they made the drone pathing a lot better, I guess. So hey, maybe we'll have to check that out once that update releases. And I also know that you can increase the difficulty of the game. You can increase the amount of space elevator components, you can increase or decrease the amount of resources in the world, you can randomize their locations, you can increase power costs, you can increase like resource costs to actually build things, so that might be pretty cool. But there we go, radio control units have come in. It should be, what was this? Actually, how many radio control units per minute is this? This is like 25 radio control units per minute? Jeez, dude. No, it should be 24. Yeah, you know what? I guess that kind of checks out. Luckily, I don't think those are used in many more things, so I think we are going to be A-okay, 12 turbo motors per minute. Hopefully, we are. Plus, I mean, if this is 24, we were making 45. We have like 21 left over, so I think we'll be perfectly fine. Alright, well, there we go. That should be it. Turbo motors are now being automated. We should start seeing some in our dimensional depot here in just a second, if they haven't already made it. Looks like they are looking good. Turbo motor. Man, long time coming for those. I should have probably made a smaller factory earlier than I did, but honestly, now that it's done, I am A-okay with this. 12 turbo motors per minute are done. Now, I think this is probably going to be it for this episode. But there is one final thing that I want to do, and this is going to take a little bit for me because, well, I want to get that research done. There's a single piece of research that we can do right now to unlock the recipe for the, I think is it AI sculpture thingy? I don't know, but the 256 thing that we need, we'll unlock the recipe for that. So I'd like to go get that. It's going to take 200 turbo motors, of course, but we could just wait around for like 12, 13 minutes, and then we will have all those turbo motors ready to go. So I think I'm going to do that. I also know it takes 400 supercomputers, so I'm going to go grab 400 of those, and then let's head back to base and see what else we need to go gather, and I'll probably just start doing that anyways. Quantum encoding, that's what it was. All right, 400 supercomputers. I suppose it kind of makes sense that it would be rather expensive on the supercomputers. Time crystals right there. I know we've got trigons in here somewhere. Indeed we do, and now we just have to wait for some turbo motors. Actually, hang on a minute. You know what we could do? While we're waiting for those turbo motors to build up, we're going to have to do something. Now, the idea was I was also going to do the nuclear pasta setup today, but I don't think we're going to have enough time for that before the turbo motors are done, and I kind of wanted to end the episode unlocking that new research. So, instead what we're going to do is we're going to go fly over to Diamond Land, and I'm going to set up a little time crystal factory. Well, okay, maybe not a little one, maybe like a decently sized one. And then we will use that to just have a depot full of time crystals so we can just like build tier 6 conveyors without any kind of concerns at all. Mostly because they look cool, but also because 1200 a minute of resource movement is very, very nice. A converter will take 12 and make 6, so we just need 3 converters. All right, now time crystals are made quite slowly, actually. 5 per minute? Jeez, dude. So we're gonna have 15 a minute of time crystals. I know we are making way more trigons per minute, so I don't know. Maybe it's just slow, I guess. Yep, I can hear that particle accelerator turning on behind me. Where is the power pole? It is right there. Boom, and the converters are now converting to time crystals. Wow, I did not know they emitted like glow like that. I probably shouldn't stand on top of these. I might be getting radiation poisoning or something. Not like I don't already have that. Time crystals are now being produced. Let's just put those into a couple little boxes over here. I don't think we're going to need too many, considering they're made at 15 per minute. And there we have it. Time crystals are automated. Now, I know that is a pure coal node, so we could put down another particle accelerator, or overclock it, and put down more of these, or overclock them, although I am hesitant to do that because the increasing power costs to do that. We could, though, and then we could double this to 30 a minute. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think this is a good idea, so I'm going to do it. You know, I'm pretty sure just deleting a particle accelerator while it is in the middle of accelerating particles probably isn't good for the environment or anything that's standing near it, but I just did it anyway. And there we go. Diamonds are back in. They should be going into the time crystals. 6 times 5 is 30 with plugged in. And that will all output over here. I should probably move this power pole into a more reasonable place. There we go. Okay, let's get some boxes down. I think that's like right in the way. Okay. Remember when I said more reasonable? Yeah, oops. And there we have it. Time crystals are coming in, and we have them in the dimensional depot to upload as well. Now, how many turbo motors do we have? 154. We just have to wait a little bit for the last 50, and we can finally get that research done. And you know, while we're waiting for that, why don't we just go ahead and start chipping away at some of these researches in here? Because I do want to get the scan tree complete at some point. Can't do the alien power matrix yet because we don't have those singularity cells, which is actually what we're working towards right now. I think I could get that last one, but I don't want to spend all those Mercer spheres. I'm going to have to go out and look for those anyways. I can do these, so yeah, let's just do these. I don't think I will ever use a priority power switch, but here we are.
Priority power switch unlocked. This assists with power grid management by automatically powering down specified connections when a grid failure is imminent. Use it to prioritize power for the most important infrastructure.
Actually, maybe that is kind of nice. I should probably do that for the power generation area, because if that goes down, my whole base goes down, and there's nothing I can really do to recover.
Power switch unlocked. Fixit is proud to announce that the power switch facilitates power grid management through the application of the very latest advances in on-off switch technology. Fixit. It's fun to have power.
That it is. Also, it is a switch. I don't know how advanced you can get with a switch, but let's go ahead and grab stun rebar as well. I will never use this, I guarantee it.
Stun rebar ammo unlocked. This applies a moderate electric charge to the target, capable of stunning small creatures and moderately delaying larger ones. This is quite atomically exciting. That was a physics joke.
Yeah, thank you. I understood. Anyways, we now need 150 rebar, and there is no way I'm going to be sitting around waiting for that. Also, why do we just have fixite ingots in here making trigons? I have no idea. What else we got here? Explorer. All right.
Explorer unlocked. This personnel transport vehicle facilitates rapid traversal of difficult terrain and climbs like a mountain goat that has returned from extinction.
What? Okay, now I'm curious. We're gonna build one. Yeah! Oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. How do I get out? Okay, well, you know what? That was a very short-lived, experiment. That was cool. I probably shouldn't have drove at, I don't know, 50 kilometers an hour into a conveyor belt, but you know what? At least we did it. What do we got here? Pulse Nobelisk. Don't mind if I do.
Pulse Nobelisk unlocked. This ammunition for the Nobelisk detonator generates a powerful shockwave capable of repelling nearby objects, including the user. Unrelated. Please ensure all your Fix-It liability waivers are up to date.
Huh. All right, last thing in the quartz research is Shatter Rebar. I also probably will not use this, but at least we'll have it.
Shatter Rebar unlocked. These quartz-infused rebars fracture when fired, launching deadly debris in a wide spread. Fix-It does not condone the use of such violent methods, so make sure there are no witnesses.
There's no what? Huh? Okay, now let's see. The last two research trees are alien technology. I cannot make the power matrix because I do not have singularity cells. I could make ionized fuel. I just have to go grab some more power slugs. I actually think I have a hard drive in here. I do, so I could use that. I think we'll wait to do this one until I have craftable power shards because, I mean, you can see down there, I can make them. I just have not been able to make the dark matter crystals and the whatever that white stuff is yet. So I think we'll wait on that. Cluster Nobelisk, I should probably do that. I might have to go grab some smokeless powder though. Nuke Nobelisk I also could probably make, but I'd have to go get uranium, and I don't really want to deal with that. So I think the last thing we'll do this episode is turbo rifle ammo, which of course I need aluminum casings. I also probably won't use that because I kind of like the normal ammo. But maybe we'll just make a couple just to see how it is. Also, I'm not really producing turbo fuel anymore, so if it needs it, maybe, I don't know.
Turbo rifle ammo unlocked. The pioneer ammo of choice when obstacles are numerous and time is short. Panic and imminent death often negatively affect human accuracy, so this ammo meets the human experience with Fix-It efficiency.
Okay, interesting. Now how do you make it? Turbo rifle ammo, that is in a blender or a manufacturer equipment workshop. You know what? Let's make a couple rounds just because we have 50 of the stuff here. We might as well. Ah, I see. That's pretty neat. You know, if I had an actual weapons factory, I probably would use that. Unfortunately, I do not, so I think we will stick with the normal rounds, also because I'm lazy and still haven't set one up. Okay, we could get Cluster Nobelisk, Nuke Nobelisk, and the ionized fuel, but I think we will save that, and the augmenter, or yeah, alien power matrix. Oh, wait a minute, don't I actually have one of those? Yeah, alien power augmenter. What does this do? Generates power based on the total number of power on the attached grid. So I think this just gives free power. Now, as you can see, it takes 10 Sommer sloops. That's extremely expensive. If we need more power in the future, we may have to build one, or we do nuclear. And, you know, as time goes on, the less and less likely I am to do nuclear, because I'm almost done with the game, if you think about it. But, I don't know, we'll get to that once we get to that. Right now, though, I think we probably have enough turbo motors. Indeed we do. 200 turbo motors coming right up. Boom, 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 boom. Quantum encoding.
Milestone reached. This is not a competition, but other pioneers, such as 83CKY and U531355, had already completed project assembly by this point. Fix-It was obviously wrong about you, but perhaps so was I. Regardless, you have finally unlocked the quantum encoder, which requires vast fluctuating power and excited photonic matter to produce highly complex parts. Do not make the same mistakes managing the resulting dark matter residue as you did other byproducts. Project part number 11, the AI expansion server, is now your highest priority. Galaxy-wide project management is taxing to even the most advanced among us, especially those who have to manage the less advanced. Like kittens and puppies, who are definitely still waiting for you to save them.
I'm detecting a little bit of sarcasm in that voice, Ada. I'm suspecting... Okay, well, I mean, truth... Bro, we already knew something was up, but... okay, whatever. Anyways, we have cool new tools. Let's look at them. Quantum encoder. Can I actually build one of those? Probably. That is extremely expensive. Wow, okay. Oh my god, this thing is huge. I do not understand how this works, but I am not going to ask questions. What can we make here? AI expansion server. So here's the recipe for these. The magnetic field generators, which I know we have a box of those. So that's good. Superposition oscillators. I think I can see the recipe right there. I'm actually a genius. Look at that. It takes crystal oscillators to make superposition oscillators. Who would have guessed? We also need some photonic matter, which it looks like you can just make. Interesting. And we need the neural quantum processor, which we can also make now. Cool. That actually isn't too bad, and we may end up setting this up next episode because we only need 256 because it's 1-to-1. So maybe we just do that. You know what? I think that's what we're going to do. Next episode, we're going to get a factory for the nuclear pasta and for the AI expansion servers. And then I think the episode after that, we will do ballistic warp drives or the rest of the research. Maybe that'll take 2 episodes. Maybe it'll take 3. I'm not sure. Anyways, superposition oscillator, we've seen that before. That's pretty neat. Neural quantum processor. Yep, also seen that. Fixonium fuel rods. Yeah, as you can see right here, it takes trigons, electromagnetic control rods, whole bunch of photonic matter, and some fixonium to actually make the fuel rod, which you can burn. Yeah, a lot of effort to make all those. Ooh, and we can finally make synthetic power shards with time crystals and dark matter. Nice. I might just set one of those up just for now, just to have some power shards. That would be pretty nice to have. Okay, I think that's it on the new stuff. Let me just go double check. I don't think we unlocked anything new besides the excited photonic matter, which can be crafted just in a converter, I think. Yeah, let me just go look here. Excited photonic matter. Oh, yep, that just crafts it. Okay, well, yeah, we have some of that. It appears you can also just craft dark matter residue straight out of reanimated SAM, but from what I saw, this is like a byproduct, or at least what Ada said, so yeah. This will be interesting. Now, I guess what can you do with this? You can turn it into dark matter crystals. You know, that kind of checks out. So we'll probably want to end up doing this with all the byproducts because I think these are used to make a whole bunch of things anyways. Yeah, like power shards and superposition oscillators. Huh, would you look at that? Okay, well, that is pretty neat. We got a whole bunch of new tools to play with, and we will probably have to play with all of them in the next episode to get the AI expansion servers. Goodbye.